The snow was falling in heavy, silent waves that night, painting the small downtown street in white loneliness. Ethan Hayes sat by the frosted cafe window, his untouched cup of coffee long gone cold. The lights inside were dimming. Chairs were being turned upside down, signaling closing time. Outside, winter howled through the empty roads. He had been waiting for over 4 hours now. His phone showed the same unanswered messages, the same silence that had stretched since sunset. Everyone else had left. The barista, the couples, the laughter. But he stayed. He had promised himself that this time he would not walk away too soon. If only he knew that fate was about to answer him in a way he'd never imagined. Before you continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more real, heart-touching stories to life. Ethan wasn't new to loneliness. At 34, he had learned how to live quietly, how to smile when it hurt, and how to convince himself that love wasn't meant for everyone. He was a structural engineer, a man who built bridges for a living, but had no one to cross them with. 2 years earlier, his fiancée had left him weeks before their wedding, after his company went bankrupt. Since then, Ethan had lost his faith in timing, in promises, even in God sometimes. Tonight's blind date, set up by a friend, was supposed to be his first step out of that emotional exile. But now, as the snow grew heavier, it seemed even the universe wasn't ready for him to heal. When the cafe finally closed, Ethan stepped outside, pulling his coat tighter. The wind hit his face like shards of glass. The street was empty except for the dim yellow glow of a street lamp and a bus stop across the road. He sighed, staring at his watch once more. 11:47 p.m. The date was clearly not coming. He turned toward his car, ready to drive home to another silent apartment, when he heard it, a faint sound, like someone crying. At first, he thought it was just the wind. But then, near the corner by the bus stop, he saw her. A woman sitting on the frozen bench, her arms wrapped around a small child pressed against her chest. The child's head rested beneath a torn gray scarf, and the woman's fingers were trembling as she tried to keep him warm. Ethan froze for a moment, unsure if what he was seeing was real. Then instinct took over. He crossed the street, his boots crunching through the snow. As he got closer, the scene became painfully clear. The woman's coat was thin, her shoes soaked through. Her face was pale, her lips quivering from the cold. She wasn't more than 30, maybe younger, and she looked exhausted beyond words. She looked up, startled, as Ethan stopped near her. Her eyes, tired yet filled with an unmistakable strength, met his. For a moment, neither spoke. He noticed how the boy in her arms couldn't be more than 6, fast asleep despite the biting wind. Ethan could tell she hadn't planned to be here. Her story spilled out slowly between chattering teeth. Her name was Mia Turner, and the little boy was her son Liam. She had come downtown earlier that evening, hoping to collect her overdue paycheck from the diner she worked at. But when she arrived, the place had already closed early due to the snowstorm. With no bus running and her phone dead, she decided to wait at the stop, thinking maybe she could catch a late-night ride. Hours passed and the temperature kept dropping. She didn't have enough money for a cab, and her small apartment was miles away. Ethan didn't hesitate. He offered to take her home, but she refused at first, hesitant, afraid, and too proud to accept help from a stranger. He understood that pride. He had worn it himself many times before, pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. So he didn't insist. Instead, he simply removed his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. When she saw the sincerity in his eyes, something in her defenses softened. They reached his car, and Ethan turned on the heater full blast. As the warmth filled the space, Liam stirred and mumbled sleepily, "Mommy, it's warm now." That one innocent line broke Ethan's heart a little. It wasn't just the cold this little family had been fighting. It was life itself. As he drove her home through the empty streets, Ethan listened to fragments of her story. Mia had once been a teacher's assistant, married young to a man who left shortly after Liam's birth. Since then, she had worked every small job she could find. Cleaning, waitressing, anything to keep a roof over their heads. Tonight, she hadn't eaten since morning, saving the last piece of bread for her son. Ethan glanced at her from the corner of his eye and saw a woman who had been beaten down by life but refused to surrender. When they finally reached her neighborhood, he realized it wasn't the kind of place anyone deserved to live in. Cracked walls, flickering streetlights, and silence that felt heavy. Mia thanked him, trying to return his coat, but he refused. He handed her his card instead and said softly that, if she ever needed help finding a better job, to call him. She smiled faintly and said she didn't want pity. "It's not pity," he replied quietly. "It's humanity." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the way she had held her son, about her voice when she said thank you. Something about her had settled deep in his chest, something pure, something true. The next morning, he found himself driving back to the cafe, unable to explain why. Maybe he was hoping to see her again. Maybe he was just tired of waiting for people who never showed up. Days turned into a week, and just when he had almost convinced himself to forget it, he received a call. It was Mia. She had gathered enough courage to ask if the job offer was still open. Ethan smiled for the first time in a long while. He arranged a position for her at a local office that needed an assistant, a small gesture that changed everything. Over the next months, they saw each other often, sometimes over coffee, sometimes at the park where Liam played. Mia laughed more now, and Ethan found that her laughter healed something broken inside him. He taught Liam how to build small toy bridges out of sticks and cardboard, and the boy called him Mr. Ethan. It was the first time anyone had said his name with such innocent affection in years. The winter slowly faded into spring. Flowers replaced snow, and the world began to look softer. Ethan realized one evening, as they sat by the same cafe window where he had once waited alone, that life had given him more than he ever asked for. He hadn't found his blind date that night. He had found something better. He had found purpose. He had found family. But fate wasn't done testing them. One evening, Mia didn't show up for their usual walk. Hours later, Ethan got a call from the hospital. She had collapsed at work due to exhaustion and malnutrition. When he reached her, she was lying pale against white sheets, her eyes half open. She tried to smile, whispering that she just needed rest. Ethan sat beside her, holding her hand as tears burned his eyes. He realized how fragile she truly was, how hard she had been fighting to appear strong. For the next few weeks, Ethan stayed by her side, bringing food, paying her bills quietly, and taking care of Liam as if he were his own. The boy once asked him, "Mr. Ethan, are you my dad now?" Ethan paused, then smiled. "Not yet, buddy," he whispered, "but I'll always be here." By summer, Mia had recovered. Her health returned, but more importantly, her faith did too. She often told Ethan she didn't understand why he helped her. He always answered, "Because someone should have done it for me when I was lost too." One golden evening, they visited the same park again. Liam ran ahead, chasing butterflies. The sun dipped low, painting everything in soft orange light. Mia turned to Ethan, eyes glistening. "You waited all night that day," she said. "If you hadn't, we would have been out there all night in the snow." "Maybe we wouldn't even be here now," Ethan smiled quietly. "I think I was waiting for you, Mia. Not for a date." That night, as the city lights flickered outside their window, Mia finally leaned her head on his shoulder. For the first time in years, Ethan felt like home wasn't an empty place. It was a person. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes love doesn't arrive when expected. It finds us in the coldest moments, in the simplest acts of kindness. Before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe that destiny sometimes hides behind small moments of compassion? Because Ethan did. And that night in the snow, waiting for a date who never came, he found the kind of love that never left.